Okay, well, we're back.
We are indeed.
We're back in Smethwick after a fantastic trip to India. Bit of reminisce, bit of a reminder of the good things. So, Sukhwinder, one highlight from the trip, out of all the brilliant things, one highlight.
Having a bath in the pool of nectar at Amritsar, I think that just changed my life. I just feel blissful.
Excellent. So when you say it changed your life, what does that mean?
I have become more religious than I was. It's the feeling that I cannot describe, basically, but I feel it. That it's different. I feel energetic and I feel very special.
Brilliant.
Yeah, really good.
Excellent. Nick, one highlight from the trip.
One highlight. I think the place where I felt that our going felt as if it made a difference was Bareilly.
Right.
And the welcome we had there. What started off as sort of a bit of amazement, shock as who on earth are these people who have arrived here and why are they here, to a very warm welcome. And that felt as if we'd made a difference being there.
Brilliant. David?
One special time. When you, Sukhwinder, went down into the nectar, as you call it,
Yeah.
as you went down into the nectar, I don't know whether you're aware, but about 6 or 8 feet away from you, a gentleman arrived with a little boy, about that big. They undressed, and then the gentleman, I guess it was his dad,
Yep.
carried the little boy into the water,
Right.
and then dipped him in it.
Dipped him 5
a
times.
couple- was it 5 times?
Yeah.
And I'm busy watching you and being absolutely amazed at the sense of the spirituality of the moment of what you're doing. And at the same time, I'm watching this little boy with his dad, because that was beautiful in another sort of way. Very special.
Excellent. Lovely one. Nazir?
For me, I think it was again based in Amritsar, where Sukhi, twice we went and he had a dip in the water surrounding the Golden Temple. And I just thought it was an amazing memory I will have, where Sukhi's getting changed, he's preparing, and there's me and you standing next to him, and we're helping him, and we're taking his clothes, and we're taking his kurta, and we're taking all his items off him, and the audience around are thinking, what on earth is going on? They can clearly see a baptized Sikh preparing to dip. That was like amazing, because they were wanting to watch that anyway. And then next to them there's yourself and me, the last of people that ever thought. And we were just part of that amazing moment for Sukhwinder, and a memory that I will have for a very
It was
long
very
time.
special being together with
Yeah, it
faithful
was.
friends. And
To be part of that for you, it was nice. And it was so nice at night time anyway, the Golden Temple glowing, the mellow and calm atmosphere that was there, and just the people coming at night and worshipping around. It was a very pleasant atmosphere.
Yeah. I have to say, I loved going to visit your brother. It was really special to go and see the village where you grew up and get a sense of kind of your childhood and a bit more understanding of who you are. But the welcome, when we got to the house and the petals had all been done in the word welcome and the garlands, but to sit and chat with your brother, and especially over breakfast the following morning, that was a very special time. So it's been great getting to know him. So that for me was a real highlight. So what were some of the things that perhaps we found a bit challenging about being there? Because it's so different to life here. What things were, that's a bit different, a bit difficult, or just, very, very different? Nick, I think I can guess, but go on. What?
It wouldn't be anything to do with auto rickshaws, would it?
But I just wonder whether.
I have to say, I found that the traffic. I think I'm absolutely speechless. I thought I might get used to it over a few days, but no. It was constantly terrifying.
Nazir, was there anything that you either found a bit difficult or challenging, or that was just very different to other things you've experienced?
Obviously, we went into so many different places of worship, and we went into so many. We went to the mandir, the Akshardham Mandir in Delhi. We went to Bareilly. we went to so many gurdwaras because wherever we would go, obviously Sukhi would find one of the main gurdwaras in Delhi, and we were going in with him, and it was amazing. I was just sometimes a bit worried that am I doing things right? What is protocol? What am I supposed to be doing in the temple? And also in Bareilly, because I've never really been to a shrine before, so I wasn't sure what the protocol was. The gentlemen that were there, like guards, or at the door, I wasn't sure if I was going to offend them or if we could take videos. So sometimes that was a bit awkward because we're not aware of the cultural or how people do things over there. But otherwise, it actually went down quite well.
Yeah, and then of course we did visited the cathedral, and were invited to stand and speak at the cathedral, and that was another very different experience for some of us, wasn't it? That was really good. Now, David, what for you?
Bit linked with Nick's, because one of the things about me is I'm not, or rather the auto rickshaws aren't built for me. I'm just too big and too awkward. And so when I'm getting out of one of those rickshaws when we were going to the Gurdwara in Delhi, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I'm trying to extricate myself from this thing without falling over. And as I step out, I have to move my foot, because there's something about the size of a beach ball we used to play with as kids. And as I got out and stepped round this bunch of rags, I saw the hand coming out of it. This very withered hand. And I realised inside this bunch of rags, balled up in the gutter, there was clearly a living human being of some age. And that was horrible. That was absolutely horrible. So that will stay with me for a very long time.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember the drive back from Bareilly?
In the fog.
The fog, which literally was.
Yeah, you could see about 2 meters maybe at the most. But it amazed me how the way they drove really safely. The way that you went through a toll booth and then they waited and then drove in convoy, and no one was trying to overtake. There were no rickshaws or bikes on the road. Actually, once you got used to it, it felt quite safe because you could see that they were all driving.
Don't forget the courageous little tractors desperately trying to...
Well, the tractors, they kept kind of wheeling.
These drivers, we were lucky to have that driver because he had many years of experience in driving, and they know the routes. So wherever there's a local river, they know where there's going to be more fog, so they slow down. So professionally, I think he did a fantastic job.
So crossing the Ganges, it became so heavy.
Yes.
Yeah, that was nice as well. And the 2 pit stops we did on the way out.
Oh yeah, because Sukhwinder was such a fabulous host.
He was.
And not only caring for us in terms of what we should and shouldn't eat, both for convenience and for hygiene, but also those stops on those motorway service areas, as it were. Fabulous food, wasn't it? Oh, absolutely fabulous.
Yeah. So remind me, what was the bread we had for breakfast? It looked like a kind of naan bread.
Oh, the pratas.
The pratas.
The stuffed in pratas.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's the breakfast for almost every Indian in India, especially Punjab. They love it.
And the very best one that your brother's wife made for us.
Oh, they were wonderful.
They were incredible.
It was, beautiful. So Sukhwinder, going there, obviously you've been to that area into India lots, you've got family there, but taking a group of friends, most of whom had never been before, obviously it was your special place. How did that feel, seeing it through eyes of having to have people there?
I felt like I was responsible for making sure my faithful friend was looked after properly. There wasn't any issues. You haven't got anybody just randomly coming over because you guys different colors or skins, just from safety's point of view or anything. I just wanted to make sure everything was safe and sound. And I'm actually grateful that you guys did give me the opportunity to kind of be leading in that sense. So it was a very good feeling, and it's a different feeling. Going with a family, it's normal. You go every year or other 2 years, but with faithful friends of different faiths together traveling, it was a different experience, and I really much enjoyed that. I think I did my best to kind of make sure that you guys were all safe and sound.
You did a fantastic job.
Fabulous job.
You did. It was brilliant.
But I think also for the rest of us, it was probably very different than it would have been if we were tourists, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Because we had a constant insight from you about what was going on. We weren't kept out of the conversations that were going on in Punjabi. We knew what was happening,
Yeah.
and that made it much richer for us, I think, than it would otherwise have
That's
been.
great.
Yeah. So, when you took us to the Golden Temple, particularly, and it is a place that I absolutely love, and it was great, but I was fortunate to be back there and absolutely love it. But for you, what does it mean going there? What does it mean kind of emotionally, spiritually, as you walk in and to the actual temple?
I've been to India for the past couple of years, and to be honest, I didn't get the opportunity to visit the Golden Temple, but I wanted to. And this trip not only gave me that opportunity, but also it's like it was a will of God for this special trip. And as I entered, I felt emotional, and I felt like grateful, and I thanked, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Guru Ram Das Ji. And as I'm walking around the complex, it was just, I was just reciting the name of God, Waheguru, constantly, and I just felt emotionally. I just kept it nice and quiet. I had a shawl over my head. I just didn't want to be embarrassed, and I just walked down, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, it's the blessing I cannot really explain as much, but it was very, very special, very special. So I'm grateful to the faithful friends and everyone who arranged everything for this trip. It was fantastic.
And for the rest of us, being in the Golden Temple, and particularly being there with Sukhwinder, what were the kind of emotions, what was kind of going through your mind or through your spirit as you were there? How did it affect you?
For me, it was, I think, I felt very personal, because living in Sandwell in Smethwick, where we live, and because we interact with such a large Sikh community here, I'm just thinking at the back of my head, this is the most sacred and important part of maybe a Sikh's faith. So to be there was just really important, and I knew I'm touching the life of every Sikh friend and person and within our community. And as soon as I did get back, my son's gone and told his best friend, who is a Sikh, that my dad went to the Golden Temple and he saw it at night time. His friend had a dip, and he saw the Guru Granth Sahib being taken out at night time on the chariot, and the conversations have already begun. But I know now, when I talk to a Sikh, or when I see a Sikh, I actually think I want to talk to them, but then I calm myself down and say, don't get too excited. They may not be interested in your trip to the Golden Temple. But yeah, I think it's really given me a closer link to a massive number of Sikhs within our community, like it will to yourselves as well, that share this.
Nick?
I think there's something of a sense of wonder when you go to a place which is clearly deeply spiritual, but's not from your own tradition. You're not quite in the same place as obviously Sukhi would be in terms of feeling I'm at home, but there is a sense of being somewhere that is vital, being somewhere that is full of life and life-giving, and wanting to spend the time to actually sense that and to actually feel that without, as I say, without necessarily knowing all the ins and outs of the temple or of the Sikh faith, but recognising that you're somewhere special.
Yeah. David, do you have anything to add about your feelings, your emotions when you were there?
I think it was that time when we were on the top floor
Of the Golden Temple.
Of the Golden Temple.
Yes.
And you showed us in and around, and then you took us up onto the upper level. And we sat down, and there was a gentleman reciting the scriptures, and all the noise of the thousands of people around just disappeared. And I think that's perhaps a bit what you're saying, Nick.
Yeah.
Although it's not my faith, I was aware of a deeply important sense of something special. And I wonder whether that's part of what we've been doing with our trips, when we go and visit each other's places. And we can't step into the other's shoes, but it's as if we come just so close.
Yeah.
There's a lovely word I learnt as a child. Is it asymptotic, where the curve comes as close as it can to the axis, but it never quite touches. But it's to be able to go that close and to be led in as you did us, and as others have done when we've gone to other places, that's so special.
A friend of mine made a comment the other day. She's on another trip visiting sacred places, and the comment they made was, if it's sacred for one, is it sacred for all? So if a place is sacred for someone, is it sacred for all of us, or are we just there as tourists watching? And for me, I thought it was a really good question, because for me, being in the Golden Temple, or in the Gurdwaras, or in the masjid in Delhi, there was a sense of the sacred. Not my sacred, but I could sense something special there. That actually this is a house of prayer, it's a house of solemnity, whatever, but there is something different to...
Going back to David's special place in Cornwall, where you said you almost felt like Jesus handed your hand into your hand. I mean, there's no religious places there, it's just a field. So if Jesus can be anywhere, and you can be blessed anywhere, my personal understanding is, no matter which place you're in, whether it's religious or non-religious, I mean, for me, Golden Temple, it's a heart to every Sikh in the world. However, if I was in Bareilly, visiting the Bareilly Mosque with my friend, and having a good atmosphere there, now that man is a spiritual person. He is followed, and he's a preacher to Islam. I felt blessed. I thought I'm surrounded by good Muslims, that because we believe in one God. He has many names. So for me, wherever I was kind of connected to God through others. So I don't think as I said, I mean, some people might have disbelief, but that's my personal understanding, that wherever I went, I felt I was blessed. I was connected to God through other faiths. So it was a really great, interesting visits to all other religious places.
Excellent.
I think one of the things that happens because our friendships have developed is that when we are with someone in their sacred place, whether it's a field, whether it's the Golden Temple, whatever, we are sensing through that person. We have a close enough connection to sense through that person the deep sacredness of that place for that person, and therefore for us.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the purpose of this journey, was to, when we develop friendships and begin to talk to one another, then things that we hold valuable, sacred, then becomes valuable and sacred to those that...
At the end of the day, we all believe in one God.
Yeah.
And we are on different paths to one God, one way or another. So the connection of God and how we should be treating each other with love, respect. I mean, every religion, as my understanding is, teaches to love each other, respect each other.
Yeah.
And, this is what we're doing, which is fantastic.
Yep. Now, we also had a lot of fun, it has to be said. We did have a lot of fun on this holiday.
Alhamdulillah, all praise to Allah. We're here with one of the spiritual leaders in Morawali village. He's given me and bestowed me this staff. I believe I can do some magical stuff with this staff soon.
Why is the leader sitting right at the back, and why am I right at the front?
The generals always make sure the troops are at the front.
Singh is king, that's why he's at the front.
Please put it back, mate.
Hang it, Imam.
The camera loves me.
That's not good. One at a time.
I think you all forgot the pantomime at the Wagah, India, Pakistan. It just seems like some macho gate closing ceremony where they take the flags down, and the soldiers from both sides tend to be quite friendly. They've obviously orchestrated the march and the change of the guards together. There's communication, and you can see they must be talking. But for those few moments, there's a lot of adrenaline pumping. The music's pumping out from the Indian side. There's drums banging on the Pakistan side. So it's a right pantomime, but everyone really enjoyed it. I don't think that...
It's more of an entertainment
definitely.
rather than a war or whatever.
I think there's a lot of national borders that could do with something like that, because what I thought was great, you've got this big crowd here of Indians and a fence and a crowd of Pakistanis and lots of cheering, but it was all good-natured. There was no maliciousness, there was no finger pointing, it was all really good.
For me as a Muslim on the Indian side, You must have seen the photos where the soldiers are pulling us over and taking a photo. You've got the Sikh soldier coming over with his turban on and taking a photo. It's so friendly, and it's just we pray that one day the nature between the two countries can improve as well, and people can get to know one another.
There was a lovely moment as well while we were in Borelli, and all those students
Oh yes.
gathered round, didn't they, to talk with us and find out why on earth we were there. And one of the things we were able to do at the end of that visit there was to give them all the Muslim Aid t-shirts, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So with thanks to Muslim Aid, we were able to pass those on to the students at the...
The t-shirts, the pens, and some of the materials we gave them.
And it was a lovely time for about 3/4 of an hour, wasn't it, of conversing with them, while their tutors, I think it was, were stood around watching to make sure we didn't do anything we shouldn't.
That was although I have to say, it's in Borelli, of course, that we went in the electric-powered auto rickshaw, which is great to see they're embracing electric power. But
They need to do something about the batteries.
the chap clearly hadn't charged
No,
it.
the batteries were fine. There were 6 of us in there. We were trying to save 20p.
It was when the elderly lady walked past us and overtook us. We knew we were in trouble. Well, that was great. Sukhwinder, funny moment.
You may not find it funny, but it was funny because I knew exactly what was happening. As we came out of the Jama Masjid after Friday prayers,
Oh, yes.
there were loads of kids running around us asking for money. And I said to a few of them in Hindi that we've got a sheikh with us.
From Dubai.
He's from Dubai. He's loaded, go ask him. And everybody just went all the way to him. And he was like, Suki, what have you said to them? What went on around me? He's missed today, by the way. He hasn't made it to be here today.
You forgot the part where those kids decided to follow his rickshaw for literally
followed and
about
followed.
10 minutes, maybe a good few hundred, about a kilometre. They just continuously following him until they gave him some money.
Yeah.
But on the back of the Jami Mosque in Delhi, the famous Jami Mosque in Delhi, we obviously prayed the Friday prayer there.
Yeah.
And me and Raghi, we prayed, and we probably didn't see what was going on with yourselves. When we entered, it was empty. It was only when the prayer finished and we gave the opening salam, which finishes the prayer, that I realized that the mosque was full to the back. So I was just wondering, what were your perceptions and feelings? How was it?
I think it was.
There's such a large number. There must have been 7, 8, 9, 10,000
As a
people.
Sikh, obviously, why would a Sikh go to a Jummah prayers on Friday afternoon? But for me to be there observing, and suddenly it was hundreds of thousands of people standing there and just looking as well, thinking who we are. But being with you and Radgi there, I personally felt it was all good. After the prayers, everybody just wanted to have photos with us and we were surrounded. I think it was a great atmosphere and a lot of respect towards other faiths.
While the Friday prayers are going on, the thing that really got me in terms of that huge, big, open space was the absolute coordination. Of just a sense that you have a whole community here, so much at one with each other, that they don't need orders or anything, just the moves all happen exactly coordinated, and that's just such a powerful sense of the spirituality of it.
Yeah. So that's a good point to draw this little conversation to a close with just perhaps thinking, what's one special memory? I'm sure we've all got lots and lots, but just one special memory.
I think I should remind you when you visited the farm in my village.
Yes.
Which farm?
You guys made a little early
exit.
We were on somewhere.
Suki took me to a place where, when he was a boy,
Yeah.
the place we visited was his uncle's farm.
Yeah, shared with
And
my
there'd
brother.
been at that time a big well. And so we went down the track in the vehicle, didn't we?
Yeah.
And he got out and he said, I used to love coming to play here as a boy. And we stood in the middle of effectively nowhere, wasn't it? Beautiful green fields as far as you could see. Air so sweet after the cities. And I was just privileged to imagine you as this little guy, younger even than I'd been when I'd been in Cornwall. So a really little guy enjoying his uncle's farm. And just for that moment, you invited me into that space. That was fabulous.
Thank you.
Nick, do you have?
I mean, the special thing is not one special. It was the warm welcome that we had everywhere, I think was wonderful. And everybody joining in, not necessarily knowing what was happening. When I saw the translator who was standing beside David as he was preaching Amritsar, and I saw the look on his face as David, moved by the Spirit, decided to travel off down the aisle of the cathedral. He didn't necessarily know what was going on, but he went with it, and it was fine.
Yep. Actually, I thought that was very special, the cathedral, to be there. I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen. Was it going to be a very straight service? How many people would be there? But actually, at the start of the service, there weren't that many. By the end, it was full, just a couple of hundred or whatever. But and I knew they were going to ask us up to the front. But the way they asked us up, and they gave us flowers, and invited each of us to speak. And and actually, not all churches are that comfortable inviting other Christians to speak, and yet they also invited you and Raggy also to speak to them and share them, and people really welcomed us, didn't they? You sensed that real welcome, and for me that was very special that we were embraced by that community who didn't know who we were, but really responded warmly. So that was a lovely time.
Moment at the end of that service that I shall remember, where as the service finished, lots of people started to come up to ask for prayers with these visitors that we were. And I turned to Bishop Bruno and as our host, and I said, "What do we do?" And he said, "Exit. Stage left. Go!" Because if you stay, you'll be here forever. And it was the lovely way in which completely abandoned all protocol. Get out of here.
That's what the side door's for.
That's what the side door's for.
I need to have one of those built at the front of the mosque. Something we can learn after the Friday prayer, just scarper out. We have to walk to the back of the mosque.
Speaking of leaving, we have to put on record, there are two gentlemen here who are dreadful when it comes to timing. And there was that moment where we are holding the doors of the aeroplane from being closed when we left Delhi.
As we were
we were saving the whole.
No. While you two were running towards these doors that we were keeping open. Honestly, no sense of timing.
That was good. I knew you weren't gonna get enough good food on the plane.
The M&M site for 5 days.
Grab the M&M, a bit of English food, little snacks.
You did.
It was a rush. I never run that fast on any airport, but especially me and him running in the corridors. I think it was very strange. It was very strange.
Luckily,
We closed the door for you, didn't we?
It was all good.
Thank you.
So, Sukhwinder, what's your real special memory?
As Nick says, everywhere we've been, I personally thank God for every place we visited. We were respected, we were welcomed, we enjoyed, we bought gifts from here, there, everywhere. We've had our lunch, breakfast, everything together. It was just brilliant. I think the whole visit was very special. And I just want to thank God for everything that we are doing and He's making us do. It's just brilliant.
A special moment for me was at Sukhwinder's village in his brother's house. He had gone to sleep, and me and Sukhwinder were sharing a room on the ground floor. And his brother came in, and he brought some fresh milk in. And I'm not normally a drinker of milk, but you can't refuse his brother's milk that he had got, so we had some milk. And then we have a conversation. I don't know if Sukhwinder fell asleep during that conversation, but because he was in his bed. But the conversation it's an interesting one, because you never thought that this conversation would take place between a Sikh preacher, such a high-level Sikh preacher within India, and then here's my humble self. And we're talking about something called Tawheed, which means the oneness of God. And he's quoting Persian poetry and bits of Arabic from the Granth Sahib about the oneness of God, and there's me talking about the Muslim creed about the oneness of God. And it's a conversation I have with a lot of people that it was amazing to sit there with the name saying your beloved brother and have a conversation at 1 o'clock at night with some fresh milk and talk about the Tawheed and the oneness of God, which is something which in Islam is something very great.
Wherever he goes and he preaches about Sikhism, we intend to have quotes from every religion. We not only talk about Sikhism, we will give examples of other religions, how they're doing good in their faiths and how we should be doing. So he's very knowledgeable in that sense, and he wants to learn a lot more. I mean, I remember him asking a lot of words in regarding Prophet Muhammad Sahib in Makkah and all these other things. So there was something about pool of we call it Amrit, pool of nectar. You guys call it Zamzam.
The water of Zamzam, yeah.
Water of Zamzam, yeah. So it was kind of similarity and understanding. So it was an interesting, again, religious knowledge. So it was good.
Oh, but it was an amazing trip, wasn't it? So thank you, Sukhwinder, for choosing that as your special place. That was brilliant, life-changing, something we will all remember for the rest of our lives, I think. And it only happened because we were helped by so many people. We had Mark and Laura, who were back here and were helping do the social media and the photos and everything, working really hard the whole time. We were able to stay at the beautiful Nishkam Centre in Amritsar, and they allowed us to stay there. That was amazing. And obviously your brother and his family hosting us in your village, that was really special. And we also had some financial support, didn't we? So Muslim Aid and the Active Citizens Fund, so a big thanks to them for making it possible. But particularly, thanks to you, Sukhwinder, for taking us to your very special place.